Hi there, it's Ann Dilker with Ann Dilker Creative and Moss Hollow Pottery. And today I am going to attempt to take this mix of gemstone colored Czech beads and show you how to turn them into a focal, macrame focal. And I'm going to use this predetermined finding here. This is a prefab finding. You can find them on the market. Or you can make them out of wire, like one of the other examples that I did in the book. But this one has all these open spaces in it, and it's kind of a cool finding. I like it a lot. So I thought, well, let me see if I can tie some knots in them. So this is free form. We'll see where we end up. I'm going to do something that I generally don't do. I will usually put my cords on one at a time. This time I'm going to try to do a gang addition. So what I've done is I've taken 3 20-inch pieces of Essilon, folded them in half, put a loop in the center. I'm putting the loop through the finding. And now I'm going to just pull all 6 ends of the cords through those loops. And this gives me an attach. That knot is called a mounting knot or a lark's head. I call it a lark's head. Rich tells me it's not a lark's head at all, but tells me it's a gate hitch, I think is what he calls it. Okay, so anyway, I've got 6 cords coming out, and I think what I'm going to do is attach that to my macrame board. I'm using the mini macrame today. One of the many advantages of this board is that it gives you a hands-free when you're trying to do something tiny like this. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to put these cords that will be my tires, trying to get them so they're not crossed over at the top here, down these notches on the bottom of the board. That does a couple of things. It keeps them from, first of all, keeps them in order. Also gives a little tension on them, so that they don't curl up on me. All right, so now what I need to do is tie a couple of rows of half hitches. They're called double half hitches, and the only reason they're called double half hitches is because you're tying 2 of them instead of 1. And the double half hitch, I'm going to start with this inside one. The end comes under the core cord and then through the loop. Just tie that tight. So it goes, so you're going to under the core, through the loop, and you're down. So that's that's one set of double half hitches. Now we do that with all of these tire cords. There's 2, 1, 2. This will make a row of what they call double diagonal half stitches, and the reason they're on the diagonal is because I put this cord that we're tying around the core cord out to the side on a diagonal. So 1, 2. All right, so that row is done, except I got it caught. There we go. So now this guy comes back in line, and this guy comes out to the side. I always like to tie 2 or 3 rows of knots, just because the knots are part of what this is all about. And because we're dealing in such a tiny space, as soon as we start using beads, it begins to fill up in a hurry. So if you start with at least 2 rows of knots, at least some of the knots are going to show. I'm actually in my own studio in Pennsylvania today, so since the camera's in a tripod, I don't have the benefit of having someone to be able to focus. So I'm going to have to this could get a little noodly a little bit later on, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so now if I start adding beads in here, it's going to occlude this whole area that's got all these interesting little circles. So that's not going to work for me. I think what I'm going to do is take this off the board and actually slide it, just slide the knot, this whole thing. You can just slide around this frame. So I'm going to slide that into another position here. Tweezers are always a good tool to have when you're doing macrame and finger weaving. Alright, so what do I have now? So now I've got these cords coming out in this direction. I think what I'm going to do is take this cord, this one, and tie it through one of these circles. Let me put my specs on here. I think I'm going to tie it through this one here. Alright, so let's see if I can get this into the camera. What I'm going to do is take this cord and put it through. I'm going to bring it back up through this space and through the loop that was created. See if that does what I want. Tie that. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. So it's going to go down through that little hole, leaving a loop here on the top so you can come back through it. It's got to come, it can't go on the outside of this or it's going to end up tying that part into it. We want it to be inside that frame. So grab him, bring him through the loop that you left at the top, and give that a tug. So that's another double half hitch is what we've got there. Okay, now I will deal with him later. I will probably end up just gluing it and cutting it off. But, okay, now it's time for me to start adding beads. And what I'm going to do is put this on hold until I dig through my stash of beads over there and find a couple of them that I like. Okay, so what I'm finding is this mix has a lot of drops in it, which are great for a lot of projects, but not so much this one. It does have 2 leaves in it, and I really like this little guy. This one is a great leaf, but because the hole runs this way, it can be a little hard to use. This one, at least, the hole runs this way. I found 2 flowers. I don't think the gray one as a color is going to work too well, but I also found a red flower, maybe that little blue bead, or maybe one of these guys. We'll see when we get to it whether we can work that in. So anyway, let's get to designing and see what we can come up with. Let's pin this guy back on the board. So what I'm going to do is take this outside cord, and I think I'm going to leave that one without a bead. I'm just going to tie a double half hitch with this around the frame. So what I need to do is lift the frame up, and you know what, let me just grab these guys and stick them in a notch, get them out of the way. Love this board. Alright, up, under, through the loop, there's one, under the frame, through the loop, there's 2 half hitches. Alright, let's grab this next guy in line, which is going to be this one, pull him out. Now, what I'm going to try to do is put a leaf bead on him, and I want this bead has an AB finish on one side and a red on the other. I'm not real fond of the red, but that AB finish is kind of cool. So sometimes these holes don't have beads, the beads don't have holes that are large enough for the echelon to go through, but I lucked out. This one's going to work. Alright, so let's put that kind of there and see what happens. So again, half hitches around the frame, under the frame, through the loop, pull it up tight. Let's get that pin out of the way and see how that's going to lay. Under the loop, under the frame, through the loop, pull it up tight, and see if he's going to cooperate. All right. Now the next one in line will have no beads on it. Generally it would have no beads on it. I might actually put some on. Let me just pin him there. Get these guys. I'm going to stick these guys in a... Ah! There go all my beads. All right. All right, let's see what we can do here. Hoping that the hole is large enough. It is. There's one. I think I want another one or two of those. I dumped them on the table here. This is kind of a tiger's eye fire polish. This is a pretty little bead. Put that... actually, that's too samey. That doesn't work for me. I'll try one of these little drop beads. These guys can be a little hard to work with because sometimes it's hard to get... That works. To get the cord through the hole. The other thing is that the small drop beads especially, those holes are really, really delicate. You don't want to be torquing around with those too much. You can break them pretty easily. So under the frame, through the loop, we're going to try to set him upright when I pull that tight. Under the frame, through the loop, and pull him tight. Okay, I'm going to stick him over here on the side, get him out of the way. Next guy in line is this one. And I think I'm going to try another one of those leaves and see if I can get this one. Put him on the wrong way. I want him to lie so that he's facing the other way. Let's see if we can make that work. Go through here. Okay. So put him there. Oops, get that flower out of the way. That would be there. Now to get him to stay, I'm going to have to put some beads in between. What's this guy? I don't know. He's a little yellow. Let's see. No, that does not work for me. Take that one out. Here's a green drop, and normally I would say this isn't going to work because, again, the hole runs from top to bottom on it, but it might just be what I'm looking for. Sometimes you get lucky. Except I think I want it the other way around. Let me turn it this way. That'll work. All right, so again, we're going to tie it to the frame. It goes under the frame. And then one more under the frame and through the loop. All right, now, get that down. Now let's see. Oh, come on, you stay. I'm going to see if I can put that flower bead in here, and that might help keep him in place. Where was that bead? It was a red flower. Ah, a red flower. So now, in order to hold that in, I am going to have to... This is not working. Let me take him out. See this guy that I said I was probably going to cut off? Surprise, I'm not going to cut him off. I might use him for the flower bead. Let's put him on. See where that ends up going. Kind of in that. All right. So in order to hold that flower bead, oh, you know what? This yellow thing might actually work. It's kind of big, but we'll see. Now, the question is this flower bead going to have a hole large enough to bring this cord back through? And sometimes the answer to that question is no. And I'm afraid that that's actually going to be the situation here. I don't think I can pass the cord back twice through him. Oh, I got it. Ha. Okay. So slide the flower down. Slide the flower down as far as it'll go. Pull this end. Pull this in. Oh, you know what? That's awful big. Okay, tell you what. I'm going to put you on pause until I can find a bead that's going to replace that guy. Okay, so what I found in my mix was a little silver fire polish. So I've put it on and I've rerun both cords through that flower, and I'm going to slide the flower back down against the project and pull that little fire polish into place. So that's really cute. That actually came out better than I might have hoped for. I'm not sure that I really need to do much more with this one. Sometimes what I'll do is have a fringe hanging down on these. Let me just see what we've got here. I actually like this one the way it is, so what I'm going to do is see if I want to tie those off into one knot or not. I'm going to pull these half hitches on the frame around to the back, and I'm going to tie just an overhand knot. So they all go into an overhand knot. And the way I get those tight is to take the tweezers, reach through the loop of the knot, reach through the loop of the knot, grab them, and then pull that knot down tight against the frame. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. My hand was sort of in the way there, and as a result, it slipped. All right, so got that. And this will be in the back of the piece. Actually, I let that knot slip when I was trying to reposition it for the camera. But what I can do is take, this one has to be tied off anyway, both of these. Let's bring these into the back. These two need to be tied off as well. So I'm going to use this group of knots and these two to make a square knot on the back. Let's just pin this into place so I have my hands free. So square knot is right over left. Get that pin out of the center of it. And then left over right. So the left are going to go over the right and come through. Some people call that a flat knot. It's a square. Now what I'll need to do before I trim it is make sure I put some glue on that. But let's just turn this over. And I'm actually quite pleased with the way this one has come out. And I can hang it from a number of different ways depending upon what kind of a necklace I want to put on it. But so you can see that working in these small spaces, the beads fill it up in a hurry, and you don't really need to do a lot of knotting. But my rule of thumb is I always start with 2 or 3 rows of double half hitches and then just let the beads take it from there. Thanks for watching.